Thanks for staying tuned to your station, the African Independent Television, and welcome to your program, Security Watch Africa. My name still remains Patrick Abambo. On this program and on this channel, we'll give you that information you need to keep your life safe and secure. Welcome to the program today. Today, we'll be looking at topical issues that need some answers and some agitation. We'll be looking at those issues with the guests in the studio. I hope the time will be enough for us to actually do justice to this issue. But before the discussion, we'll take some reports. But first, I want to thank all those who travel all the way down to Iguzo in Oshimile, North Local Government in Delta State, for the burial of a great man, a retired Commissioner of Police, Frank Odita. My uncle was laid to rest yesterday in the hometown in Iguzo in Delta State. The whole family and Security Watch Africa really miss him, and I know that the Nigeria Police Force and Nigerians who will miss him. By next week, we'll be giving you the full report on the burial ceremony in Delta State. Yes, from there, we'll go. One of the issues that drew a lot of attention during the week is the talked about presidential yacht. What of the presidential yacht that 5.9 billion naira was budgeted in the supplementary budget for the presidential yacht. Security Watch Africa did a report of the untold story and the truth behind the yacht itself, and how come about the yacht. On the screen you can see the yacht particularly is resting here in Nigeria, so it's already in the country, just as some information had come. So the propriety of it or the need for it, go through the Security Watch Africa report on our swafricanews.com for you to read that report on what about that presidential yacht. Yes, cheering news came some few within the week also on what is happening in Sambisa Forest, the once dreaded Sambisa Forest. Many people do not know that Sambisa Forest used to be a game reserve, but because of the Boko Haram insurgency, everything living, humans and animals, fled from that region. But the cheering news is that animals are returning back. There are hordes of elephants we have sighted grazing in that, as like you can see, meaning that life has returned and security and peace has returned. Kudos to the armed forces of Nigeria for making sure that no part of Nigeria, like the governor of Borno State said, no part of Nigeria is under the stranglehold of non-state actors. Yes, from there, we must tell you that a lot of good news, cheering news in the area of security abounds all over the country. Let us look at the positive instead of looking at the negative at all time. But first, we'll go to the report put together by Shirley Daniels on the movement of the Chief of the Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja. Sit back as we give you the report.
In his drive to motivate officers and soldiers of the Nigerian Army through provision of walking tours, office and residential accommodation, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Abiodun Lagbaja, commissioned many office and residential accommodation, gunboats, and the fire service station during his recent tour of the Nigerian Army divisions, formations, and units in 81 Division and 6th Division. Beginning from the commissioning in the 81 Division area of responsibility, where he commissioned some office and residential accommodation for officers and soldiers, and the fire service station.
I'm glad to be in Odogunya Barracks today and to commission some projects. These are 30 family corporate below quarters represent a renewed drive to provide a conducive living environment for officers and soldiers of 174 Battalion. And therefore, my delight to commission this block. I, Lieutenant General T.A. Lagbaja, the Chief of Army Staff, hereby commission this newly constructed 30-family corporal below quarters this day, the 9th of October 2023, to the glory of God, the benefit of the families that we live in, and the generality of mankind. I, Lieutenant General T.A. Lagbaja, the Chief of Army Staff, hereby commission this innovated 12-family corporal below quarters in Odogonya Barracks to the glory of God, the benefit of the NA personnel that we live in it, and the entire humanity. I, Lieutenant General T.A. Lagbaja, the Chief of Army Staff, hereby commissioned the fire station at the Nigerian Army Cantonment Ikeja this day, the 10th of October 2023, to the glory of God and the benefit of humanity.
He moved to 6th Division Area of Responsibility, where he commissioned 2 accommodation for Regimental Sergeant Majors RSMs, 10 gunboats as part of flagging off of Exercise T-Water 3, Headquarters, 26 Support Engineer Regiment, remodeled and renovated 6th Division Reception, and foundation laying ceremony of 6th Division Shopping Mall.
The Chief of Army Staff, sir.
The provision of decent accommodation is one of the driver of the Nigerian Army transformation. I'm therefore delighted to be here this afternoon to see this well-constructed accommodation for our senior enlisted personnel. I, Lieutenant General T.A. Lagbaja, the Chief of Army Staff, hereby commission this newly constructed accommodation for the RSM 6th Division Garrison.
Thank you, sir.
I, Lieutenant General T.A. Lagbaja, the Chief of Army Staff, hereby commission this newly constructed accommodation for the RSM 46 Engineers Brigade this day, the 13th of October 2023, to the glory of God and the benefit of mankind. I, Lieutenant General T.A. Lagbaja, the Chief of Army Staff, hereby commission the newly constructed 26 Support Engineers Regiment Headquarters Complex this day, 13th October 2023, to the glory of God and the benefit of mankind. I'm pleased with the constant upgrade of facilities in our barracks and units, and what I'm seeing in Headquarters 6th Division this morning is elating. And so I, Lieutenant General T.A. Lagbaja, the Chief of Army Staff, hereby commission this remodeled and newly constructed 6th Division Headquarters Reception to the glory of God and the benefit of humanity.
With this and many other ongoing projects, the Nigerian Army leadership under the command of General Taoreed Abiodun Lagbaja is poised to ensuring that whatever is needed for personnel of the Nigerian Army to effectively discharge their constitutional responsibilities and fulfill his command philosophy is provided for.
Are you good to go? Good to go, good to go, sir. Are you motivated?
Shuli Daniels, reporting for Security Watch Africa.
Welcome back. Yes, I can see the troops, they are motivated, and we must give kudos to them because they are doing their work, even though they are overstretched, doing so much with so little. But I believe with the leadership that they have, they are doing the best, and they will do more. Just they need the support of Nigerians to do better. Yes, from the Nigerian Army, we go to the Nigerian Navy, where, and that's sharing news, where the high endurance patrol vessel was commissioned in Turkey, and very soon we'll be having first of its kind. 2 of it will be arriving in Nigeria. Sit back as we bring you this report put together by Elizabeth Tanko.
In continuation with the restocking and improving the platforms of the Nigerian Navy, the Chief of the Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ikechukwu Ogala, visited Turkey for the launching ceremony of the first of the 276 meters, 1,200 tons high-endurance offshore patrol vessels, HEOPVS, contracted by the federal government of Nigeria to be built by Dersand Shipyard in Tuzla, Istanbul, Turkey. The contract was signed in November 2021 and construction began in September 2022. During the launching ceremony, the Chief of the Naval Staff commented that the ceremony marks yet another important milestone in their construction, having progressed significantly through a well-planned and executed design and construction process. Admiral Ogala added that these ships, when fully completed and commissioned into the service of the Nigerian Navy, would complement and further sustain the efforts of the fleet in ensuring naval presence at sea. These, he said, will help to curb the menace of oil thefts and other illegalities in Nigeria's maritime environment in particular, and the Gulf of Guinea in general. In conclusion, the CNS thanked the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for his support to the project and commitment to the recapitalization of the Nigerian Navy fleet. Following the launching ceremony of the first 76 meters HEOPV P203, it is expected that all the ship's installation will be fixed, connected and worked between January to May 2024, and harbor acceptance tests for the ship between July to August 2024. The ship should be delivered by September 2024. And the launching of the second ship to hold in February 2024.
Welcome back. Yes, part of restocking the platforms of all the armed forces of Nigeria and the Nigeria Police Force. We must commend the previous government for doing a yeoman's job, and with the new government having the commitment to continue and improve, which is quite cheering. Talking about the funding of security in Nigeria, we have, which will be the topic of our discussion today, we have our guest already in the studio, Chimezi Anyadike, social commentator, to look at, when the news came up that in the supplementary budget, there's an accumulative budget of 2.7 trillion naira. Some Nigerians were like, wow, such a huge amount of money. But I'm sure you have gone through the budget.
Yes.
You've seen it.
Yes,
What would be your reaction?
Like I always say, security is, investing in security for every country is always an ongoing affair. And looking at the entire figures, I believe that, like I always say, the Commander-in-Chief receives his security briefings, and he understands the importance of investing in security infrastructure. So if a supplementary budget has been passed, it's only a budget. It doesn't mean that the whole sum would be spent, but I believe that they would be guided in the investment in security as it is. I don't think that there's any, there's no really any big issue about it if we must confess. Like, it is very important to invest in security, especially for a country like Nigeria that is becoming a regional powerhouse and that needs to also show its big brother tendencies and flex its, muscles, as it were, as the giant of Africa. So I don't think there's any, it should elicit the brouhaha that it has so far generated.
Yes, really, security is one very expensive
Yes.
project, really. And but most times people don't understand what's the importance of security until there's insecurity.
Yes.
That you start crying.
Yes.
If Nigeria had invested in security, I don't think Boko Haram and all the non-state actors would have held us hostage.
Exactly.
One of the things that has been a tradition in Nigerian budgeting system, the Nigerian government budgeting system, is the envelope format, telling most of the ministries and the MDAs, look, don't budget more than a certain figure. But the past government, and I can see with this, the current government is saying, listen, we have to budget for the things we need.
Yes.
Whether it's above whatever envelope.
Yes.
Now, what would you say? Because looking at the sectorial budgeting, recurrent and capital,
yeah.
what is here is that most of the capital budgeting is higher than in the the recurrent, because a lot of things were lost in terms of infrastructure. Would you say that the government should continue with this capital, or they should now look at the area of welfare?
Okay. I just want to quickly go a little bit back in history. I think it was some time ago in Mali, there was an insurgency or something, and I read a report, I think that was during the Goodluck Jonathan administration, about how the armed forces personnel of Nigeria were being deployed, that they were not, that the soldiers and the military personnel did not have the requisite up-to-date training for combat missions, for engaging in peacekeeping and all of that. So, and that commander said, and it was a very sad report when I had it, he said that Nigerian military, they have no use for strategic, how do I put it, structure in tackling the insurgency in Mali, that they are just deployed as personnel to man roadblocks. And honestly, that statement chilled me to the bones, and I was like, what can be done to restore the glory of the Nigerian armed forces? So I believe that from the Muhammadu Buhari administration currently to the Tinubu administration, I believe that the former president Muhammadu Buhari has done more than enough, especially in the area of hardware, especially in the area of equipment. Like he made sure that the armed forces did not lack any strategic hardware and any strategic equipment to combat, and not just to combat insurgency and insecurity, but to also take preemptive measures to be always battle ready. So I believe that the former president did a very great job in making sure that our security infrastructure with regards to hardware and equipment is up to date. And what I believe right now is that with the figures in the supplementary budget that has been released, I believe that what the current administration should focus right now is more of welfare, because if our military personnel are not properly motivated, of course they would keep giving their all, but there is a difference between we are focusing on your welfare, we are going to make sure that all your payments, all your pensions and everything is properly, paid attention to. Your widows would be taken care of, and your families, everybody would be taken care of. I think it would go a great way in making sure that their morale is always high. So looking at the figures, focusing on capital expenditure and operational expenditure, recurrent expenditure, I believe that the government has been able to arrive at a particular structure on how to manage the welfare and the equipment, the hardware of the armed forces. So I don't think there should be any variation or outcry on the figures. I believe that they arrived at those figures carefully and with detailed attention. So I think it's very fair, it's very proper, and I think it's very strategic.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you there. And one of the things Nigerians must know is that Nigeria is still lagging behind, even in
Yes.
Africa, in terms of budgetary
Yes.
expenditure for the security.
Yes.
Really,
Yes.
because when we look at countries that are, in terms of economy, less than Nigeria, they are budgeted for the armed forces and for the police and all that is far, far more than what we have,
Yes.
even though they are in peacetime. Taking South Africa, for instance, our own budget for South is not even up to 10%
quite
of what South
abysmal,
Africa
yes.
is spending.
Yes.
But there's another problem with budgeting in Nigeria. And I hope it won't be the same for this supplementary budget in terms of when they appropriate. One thing is that these are figures that have been stated.
Yes.
The National Assembly gives approval. Mr. President signs.
Yes.
But at the end, most times, not even up to 30% of this
Yes.
is provided.
Yes.
What do we do?
It's me. I believe that this is a problem that has practically become more like a culture in Nigeria. Appropriation is made, but disbursement becomes an issue. When you look at some of the complaints by some of all the ministers we've had, maybe in the previous administration, that did a lot of work and everything, they would always complain that, see, what we see as budget is simply a budget. It doesn't mean that disbursement has been done. But you know, in Nigeria, once we hear budget, in our mind, the money has already been spent. You know, so I think it's a question of properly educating Nigerians. I mean, the NOA has its job cut out for it to educate Nigerians that it is simply an estimate of how we intend to spend it. We've not even spent the money. It has not even been disbursed and all of that. So until that knowledge, until that education, until that enlightenment is properly inculcated in Nigeria, there will still be that suspicion in the heart of Nigerians that they've okay, 2.17 trillion, they've spent it, they've wasted it. It's just something that has been approved. And there is even no guarantee that by the next budget cycle, it would have been that up to 30% of the money or the funds would have been disbursed. You know, so I think it's a thing of focusing on educating the Nigerian citizen to understand that a budget is simply an estimate, is a projection, and it doesn't mean that the money has been spent already.
Because I'll tell you, the information I know is that some of in the 2023 budget has not even met up to 50% of its in terms of disbursement. And most of the security forces and the armed forces and police have not even gotten their second quarter allocation. And we're already in the fourth quarter. So really, this is a very big challenge. I think the Nigerian government must do more. One novelty that the previous government did, but that was in the works and some other ministry is looking for alternative means of funding. You know, some are tax incentives, some are other measures looking for way. But in terms of security, they may not be solved because they are not revenue generating.
Yes.
What do you think? Because they will say it's like the country is like a father. Nigeria is like a father, or you know, that has so many children that requires equal attention. Yes, health is there. You know, infrastructure in terms of works and power, all these things are there. They need attention. Agriculture is there, security is there, and all that. But don't you think there should be priority in area of security?
I believe so. I believe so, because when you look at the general insecurity issues around and over the country, you discover that insecurity is a challenge that faces us every day. And so funding our military and our security, funding our security infrastructure should take priority. I usually don't like flogging, dead horses, but when you take a look at countries like the US, even Israel currently right now, you discover that security is a major, should I say, is a major hole that, that consumes most of their budget funding and all of that. So if we decide to toe the path of ensuring that we value our security infrastructure, it should be given priority. It should always be given top priority, because without security, all the other sectors of the economy is outrightly meaningless. Look at the Northeast that just, recovered recently. Nothing was working. Education was not working. Healthcare was not working.
Industry.
Nothing.
So-
So now that attention has been paid to security, and the efforts of the security infrastructure and personnel has largely paid off in restoring peace and security in the Northeast. Education has come back. Sports has come back.
Sports, agriculture. Most important.
The economy has rebounded in the Northeast. So if attention is not paid to security, first and foremost, of course, anarchy
Will
would just
set in.
set in and
Yeah.
we'll start running round and round in circles again. So I believe that the government should pay adequate attention, more than enough attention, to our security infrastructure.
Yeah, sorry, I'm getting signal to leave because this is becoming very interesting. But I think next week or next edition, we're going to be talking with you because I want to look at this Ember Month, the end of year, and a lot of security challenges. Yeah. And I don't know, will there be any, as a sign of, any advice you give to Nigerians, even as they plan to travel?
Well, not really any advice. Normally, the only issues we've had in recent history, but it was not very pronounced, just road accidents and all of that. But I would also want Nigerians to be very, very security conscious. A lot of people are blaming the dollar fluctuation and all of that, as reasons to resort to crime and all of that.
All right, we must leave for other programs to continue. If you have enjoyed watching us, join us again next week. We'll bring you another exciting edition. Until we come here again next week, I say thanks for staying tuned and bye for now.